I'm Greg Hunter. Welcome to USAWatchdog.com. With us, a update from a guest who's a favorite here, one of my favorites, and one of yours too, actually. He gets hundreds of thousands of views every time he's on. He's a renowned geopolitical and financial psychoanalyst, and he's rarely wrong. And what he said in the last interview was, we're not going to have a crash just yet in the first quarter, but something's going to happen in the second quarter. Things will get rough, and I want to get him on to talk about that. Also, he's been predicting the war cycle, and it's hard to argue that we're not in a war cycle at this point with the things that are going on. And to bring on for an update is Charles Nenner at the Charles Nenner Research Center. Charles Nenner, thanks for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com.
Welcome. It's nice to be back.
Good to have you back. You had written me and said, I think the market is topping. You said there wouldn't be a crash in early on in the first quarter. Some people were warning about that. Of course, it's so shaky. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? But you were saying not yet. Now you're saying there's a little bit of danger out there and that the market is topping. Can you explain? What do you say now?
Well, in our last update, we said the market is still going to hold up till the second quarter of the year. And I'm not so sure if it's going to take that long because cycles look toppy and we see a lot of indicators that look toppy. And since people sometimes need a couple of weeks to decide what to do, I thought, we're a bit early because you don't want to tell them at the last moment, now you should sell. So slowly, they can get ready to take some profits if they're still long in the market. This is based on my work. If you look more fundamentally and you look at the price earnings, the market is very expensive. Everybody is super greedy and all the indicators are flashing a lot of risk.
How do you navigate the bond market? I just had Martin Armstrong on. And he says there's going to be a revolution against government debt because all this debt, I mean, we have USA with all this debt and you have EU with every country is just loaded up to their gill with debt. And that doesn't bode well for a government bond. What do you think about government bonds? I know you did 2 or 3 interviews ago when everybody was like, oh, rate's going to be cut, one and done, cutting. And you're like, no, the rates are going to go higher. They could be, go down a little bit, but overall rates are going to go higher. So what are you saying now? Are rates still going to go higher?
Let's go step by step. My Fed fund cycle shows that there's not going to be any substantial Fed cuts this year. My longer term cycles on interest rates show that this is just the beginning. Maybe remember we once showed that chart. I think that for the next 30 years, interest rates are going higher, and we said it might even go back to what it was in the 80s, and we're talking about 18, 19, 20%. Of course, there's a big problem because the American government owes so much money, and they financed it with short-term rates because short-term rates were low. So now short-term rates are high. Longer-term rates are high, and they can hardly pay the interest on the money that's outstanding. And because of political reasons, they just continue like nothing is wrong. So it's very simple to make a calculation that with these short-term interest rates, soon there's going to be a big problem. You call it evolution, I don't know, because I even know people that I told them start buying some treasury bills. They even asked me, is the American government always going to pay it? Well, they're going to pay it, but then if you know the history, if you bought it in the late 20s, in the 30s, it took at least 8-9 years until the government paid you back. So it's not so simple.
So you think they will pay? What will happen to the dollar in the meantime? I mean, if all these. Well, I guess that's why interest rates have to go up. If you can't entice people to buy government debt, you got to raise rates, right?
Yeah, but let's not forget the difference between Europe and I'm from Amsterdam is that if they come out with the government selling bonds, 99% is bought by the Europeans. In the United States, I think it's 40% or so. I think 40% of the bonds are being held by the Chinese. And if we bother the Chinese too much, or they don't trust our bond market anymore, or they get an alternative, if they just sell a little bit of the bonds we have, we get huge interest rates.
Well, I just had Senator Marco Rubio, saying that when they attack Taiwan, expect your water to be cut off, your lights to be cut off, your bank could go down, that they'll have a hacking attack unparalleled in American history. Is that just some hype that Marco Rubio is putting out there to scare people, or do you think that's what's going to happen?
Well, you know what I think is going to happen is the West is going to fight a combination of Russia, China, Korea, and Iran, which I think the West is going to lose. I don't think we're going to defend Taiwan because there's no chance. So I don't believe that's going to happen. But for normal reasons, just economic reasons, if you see how much the deficit of the United States and how much it grows without any wars, it's impossible to hold on to it. Now, if there's going to be a bigger war.
Wait a minute. What do you mean it's impossible to hold on to what? The big. So, in other words, right now, with no wars, we're up to our neck in debt. What do you mean by it's possible to hold on to it? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Because we still continue to send a lot of money everywhere, and the United States can hardly pay the interest on the money that they own. So if you make the calculations, which I did years ago, it's just going to end. They cannot do it anymore. I don't know what the solution is. Now, the solution till now was, we talked about that since it's the reserve currency, the dollar, they can print dollars. But we talk about the other countries making anti-dollar, and if the dollar is not the reserve currency anymore, they cannot help out with the printing dollars, and the whole thing is in bankruptcy.
Is that how you think it will end? The USA will end in bankruptcy? Explain that.
Well, I don't explain. If you look at cycles, there are cycles, we talked about it, of 250 years from expansion. And the Dutch people had the Dutch guilder, who was the reserve currency. And then when they became weaker, then Britain had the pound as a reserve currency. And now United States. And usually it takes 250 years. So if you see from the Civil War, you go up. So we're almost 250 years. And what we see is that all the symptoms are every time the same. That means is you get weak leadership, you get internal trouble. We talked about this a couple of years ago, that says we're going to have huge internal trouble in the American society. Then you have to give out a lot of loans. Like now, you try to abolish student loans because people become a bit lazy and they're used to a good life. So how do you keep them happy? By doing all kinds of tricks, by printing money, by forgiving the money that they own, and that usually is always the sign that things are almost over.
Wow. So what happens? What happens when it's over?
Well, when it's over is, like the Netherlands didn't go under, the Britain didn't go under. You're not a superpower anymore, which usually goes together with not being on a strategic field a superpower anymore. And I think the United States doesn't realize they're not a superpower anymore. So if you're an American, I would be very worried about what's coming on, because you're fighting enemies that have no mercy. Iran really has no mercy. And if you think you're not going to do anything against Iran now, what are you going to do if they threaten to send nuclear bombs to United States? Is going to be even more difficult. And Korea and China and Russia, we are, and I don't mean it negative, it's just as a fact, we're a bit, spoiled Western societies, and we cannot stand our own in that situation.
Would they just press the nuke weapons? I mean, the Space Force says, "Oh, we have weapons in space. We're not going to help." One of the generals came out and said this. They said that we're not going to just be a support institution or support branch of the military. We can exercise offensive weapons in space. He didn't say exactly that, but that's what he said. That they can fire weapons in space. Would that, if the U.S. gets backed into a corner by China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran, would we start nuking people?
No, I think we're going to give up. We're going to give in. Like we're giving in actually with the Houthis. The whole prices will soon shoot up again because everybody has now to deal with the fact that they have to ship around the south of Africa, and we don't do anything. We'll let the Houthis do whatever they want. We only defend ourselves if they send some rockets. Also yesterday some ships were hit and they were in trouble. The whole world sees what's going on, and I think this is how it's going to continue because we're not strong enough to really do something. Not strong enough in the strategic field and not strong enough of mind.
Ooh, boy, man, that's and what kind of effect does that have on the economy if the U.S. is not? I mean, Catherine Austin Fitz says all the time about the dollar. That's a military question. And what happens if the military can't, keep the sea lanes open? That nobody is basically afraid of our military. What happens to the dollar? Do you think what happens to the dollar if the American military?
Well, first of all, the economy for the excuse me. For the economy, they're already using all kinds of tricks. For instance, we give billions to Ukraine, and those billions they use in order to buy weaponry from the United States. So we try to support our firms by giving the money to Ukraine. So we're doing all kinds of tricks to keep the economy going. Below what's going on right now, there really is a lot of trouble. What's going to happen to the economy? I mean, it's going to be a terrible situation because if people don't trust the dollar anymore, I don't have to tell you what it leads to, and it's going to be a big problem.
Well, explain the big problem.
Well, the big problem is you wouldn't go and invest in the United States or buy real estate in the United States or whatever if the dollar comes down in a big way. So the money is not going to flow into the United States anymore, and we need that money because we run out of money ourselves.
Wow. What do you see for the dollar cycle? I mean, where do you see it going?
Well, the cycle shows that most of the year is going to hold on still, and then it's really going to come down. The best thing is to follow the cycles that we publish on the website, and then you see it for yourself, how long it holds on, and when the top is, and how low it will go, and when it really is coming down.
So good for 2024. It'll start getting bad in 2025.
Yeah, it's not going to be great this year, but it's going to hold on most of the year.
And how low do you think it'll go? How much value will come out of the dollar? Do you think?
I don't have that ready, but I again want to stress that late 26, 27 cycles look the same as before the crash of 1929. What is going to trigger it, we don't know, but definitely we're going to have something that looks like 1929.
25, 26, or 26, 25, 26, 27?
Late 26, 27. Now, these are yearly cycles, so you cannot be too exact. So it's between 26 and 27.
With the dollar's value, I'm just trying to get a number on this. Could you see the dollar's value being cut in half?
Yeah, possibly.
Wow, that's a real possibility.
We have it on the website, but I don't have it ready what the number is, but you can look it up.
Wow.
And that's the reason probably why we expect a super bull market in gold and silver once the cycle bottom. You remember every time I come on, it says it's coming, not yet. Don't buy for the long term because it's too early, but we're getting very close to a bull market.
Well, you would think that they have it held weirdly at roughly $23 an ounce for silver and 2025 neighborhood. Now it's pretty much firmly above 2,000, but the low 2,000s in gold. You think they're just kind of holding it here in a pattern?
No, we could still have one move down because the cycles are still down. So you have to hold on. Like I said, go and take a look. Always I say the same thing. You have 4 weeks, 30 days free entry. You can watch. Let's go to charlesnenner.com. Look at our cycles. And you can print them out so you know when a cycle bottom is, when a cycle high is. In the meantime, you can always make money because last year there was a trading range. I think if you look at a track record, only on gold you made like 45, 50%. The only thing you have to do is watch the cycles and you can play it up and down. And I tell people that otherwise you wait for 10, 20 years for that one big market chance that there is. And in the meantime, there's a lot you can do. So take a look how the the knowledgeable investors do it. They don't wait for one or two chances in the lifetime. They're busy all the time if they know which way markets are reacting.
Yeah. What do you think about Bitcoin? Do you think it's topping out, or will it follow gold and silver up?
No, Bitcoin's short term is stopping. We had a target of 54,000, but we said if there's a good close below 52,000, we saw the high for the moment. I don't believe in this whole story of 100,000 based on my work. And even if you don't look at my work, everybody now has proven that the NASDAQ and Bitcoin go mostly together because it's just based on nothing and people are just buying out of greed. And since we think we're close to a top in the NASDAQ, then also the Bitcoin is not too positive.
So if gold and silver start taking off like crazy, Bitcoin's not going to go up with it in your estimation. You think that would be separate markets. So Bitcoin's going to...
Right. Bitcoin,
go ahead.
Yeah, Bitcoin is more connected to the NASDAQ because most people who are not knowledgeable, they buy some NASDAQ stocks and the Bitcoin, and they're not knowledgeable about gold and silver. Only what happens is when gold and silver are up 50, 60%, and all the media talk about it, then all the people who are not knowledgeable, they go into that, but that will take a while. So they think they know something about Bitcoin, but they have no clue when gold goes up and down. So they stay with the Bitcoin and not in gold and silver.
You think the real long play is gold and silver?
Right. We've been talking this for years, and we say the cycles don't bottom yet, not yet. Don't, just wait, stand aside until our cycles bottom. But we're getting closer.
Wow. I want to talk to you. This is going to be a real long interview, but because you get tons of tons of information. You've talked about Trump being the winter coat. I mean, they must think he can win. They're trying to throw him in jail. They're trying to take him off the ballot. They're trying to fine him $500 million to keep him from appealing. Trump, could he win in your cycle work? Could Trump win in 2024? Or are they just going to have war, kick the table over, and cheat all they can? What do you see Trump going in 2024?
I still think he's going to win, but if you see the people, we just saw this with this DA that's now being scrutinized about a boyfriend, whatever. If you see the people who are judging about Trump, it's really very scary for me as a Dutch person. What happens to the United States? I mean, you can't trust anything anymore. Not the FBI, not the CIA, not the legal system. Like you said last time, even if Trump wins, there's so much that was destroyed. I don't think he can fix it anymore.
Although you did say, this is a great title, you said, hey, listen, you can't stop the cycle. It's going to go down. But, Trump, he could be if you have winter coming, you buy a winter coat. And you think Trump could soften the blow. Explain that. Trump could be the winter coat.
Well, I can explain it with I have long-term subscribers, usually people who are financially in such a case can do whatever they want. And we discuss if there's going to be, a nuclear attack in the United States, where they should go. So that's the winter coat. You can't stop it, but you can, if you know it's coming, you can take precautions and try to save yourself. Now, I have a lot of people that are buying these visas. You're on islands. You can buy a visa for $100,000 down if you invested in real estate, and then you're a citizen of an island somewhere, who knows where. So a lot of big people that I work with are preparing themselves. Like they also said about people from Google that already buy bunkers and try to protect themselves. There's a lot going on. The discussion is that most people are too afraid to think that way, so they just put it aside. But if you're not afraid to think that way, if you think this situation, what's going on in the world, and especially the United States, is going to end well, then you have something coming. It's going to be a big problem. Now, of course, we discussed how do we get to the winter coat of Trump. We said, listen, a cycle is a cycle. You can do anything about it. So after the summer comes the winter, comes the summer, comes the winter. We said this. You can't stop it, but you can buy a winter coat if you know that the cycle shows there's going to be a winter. So personally, you can do something, but you cannot change the outcome of the cycles.
Got it. And Trump, if he does get in, could soften the blow. We could be, instead of going into bankruptcy under the rule of chaos, he might try to harness the rule of law and salvage something.
Yeah, but on a big scale, like I said, is between 26 and 27, the cycles look the same as the crash of 29. There's nothing you can do against it.
Wow.
You cannot even soften the blow. So on a small scale, maybe you can do something, make some order, but the big cycle is this still going to control the wars and the economy and whatever's going to happen.
So, and you have clients that they have, is this something that new? You have clients that have a bunker mentality. Is this something that you've noticed just in the last year or so?
No, I've clients that are big in live cattle, feeder cattle, in the Midwest or even more west, and they even invite me to come and stay over there when the time is ready. A lot of people are getting ready.
So a lot of people. So you got people in the Midwest that is this a good place to be? The Midwest.
Well, if you can, we discussed this a lot. I think the south of South America seems to be good. But then, look what happened to Lula, who became the big anti-Semite and is very friendly with Iran. You never know what's going to happen next.
Yeah. The war cycle. So 26, 27. Is this all the financial cycle and war cycle? Are they in tandem together?
No, because the war cycle continues up. Just the financial cycle tops in a year and a half or so, but it doesn't top a little bit. It's a huge top. Like I said, it's a huge cycle, and I'm so sure that the whole thing is coming down. So people should at least prepare themselves psychologically how long they have and what they're going to do.
And this is the financial cycle, so you're seeing a huge top in the financial cycle. It's not going to be any higher after this.
Well, it can take 20, 30, 40 years if we survive. But for a long time, no, it's not going to go up.
And the cycle is going to top in 26 or 7.
And late 26, or early 27.
And then
but I hope by then, if we're healthy, that we can have an update. And then the closer we get, the better we can time it.
And so then now's the time to get ready. And now's the time you have some time to get ready, maneuver, move, do whatever, buy gold. You have time right now.
Yeah, we talk about small investors. Listen, big pension funds and big companies cannot make a decision within a week or even if a couple of weeks. They have meetings, they have other meetings, they have other experts that come in. So that's why usually a while before it happens, I have to start warning so people can already get ready. For the small investor, he can trigger and just sell whatever he has, but the big ones cannot do it because they will bring the whole market down.
Do you think we'll have an election in 2024? Or do you think we'll have war?
I think so.
Or you think we will?
No, we still have. I still think we have an election. I don't know what they're going to do on the Democratic side because I think they have a big problem over there. Again, I'm not an American. I just see it as an outsider. People are worried about Biden. I don't have to tell you what's going on. I don't think they have enough time to bring in somebody else. And they have the big problem if they're going to debate. If Biden again is not going to debate, that will help him lose the elections. And if he debates against Trump, he's also going to lose. So I don't know how they're going to solve that.
So you don't think that your war cycle, even though it looks bad in the Middle East, Hezbollah, Hamas, Taiwan, all these, in the Middle East and Houthis and, the attacks in Iraq, all that, Syria, you don't think the war cycle tips it over in 2024?
No, it just continues up. So we're still in, what we said a couple of times, if the Dow Jones stops, then usually some stocks go down first, other stocks go down first until the whole thing crashes. You have the same thing with the war cycles. You got wars, small wars everywhere until it loads up, and then you got a big war coming, and that is probably next year.
In 25.
Yeah. Maybe you remember that we said that some cycles are bottoming the second half of last year, yes, which happened, and more cycles are starting to go up by late this year. So we're just starting the whole mess.
You had said that, and people kind of chided you a little bit for this because they thought gold was going to go right up, and I thought, no, I mean, it's higher than it's around 2,000, above 2,000, so it's got a new bottom. But you said it wasn't going to take off just yet, and so I think it's pretty important for you to say, well, we're getting close. We're getting close for a new.
Let me explain what happens over here. I think once I explained it, let's say you and I own IBM, and IBM you bought at 100, it is 115. IBM comes up with a great number. Now, is it going up or down? If it goes up, the Wall Street Journal will write investors poured into IBM because they did great. But now if my cycle stops, IBM has to go down, but the results were great. So if it goes down, then the Wall Street Journal will say, you know what? Investors took profit. They don't think IBM can do better next year, which means is that even if you know the facts, the interpretation of the facts is important. So to say how come gold is not going in a bull market when there's inflation and there was, because the cycles didn't go up. If the cycles would be up, everybody would be worried about the wars and the inflation and they would buy gold. So you cannot force these things. You just have to wait till the cycle bottoms, because that is the moment that people are aware of what's going on. And that awareness is what leads to cycles, not the news.
Wow. Gold's on the edge of a bull market. We're war cycles increasing. That's clear. You got that right. But it's not going to blow up this year. Not going to completely get out of control yet. Interest rates. Everybody is saying the Fed is going to cut interest rates, and you're like one of the few people that come on and say, no, they're not going to cut interest rates. So, and they're not going to, and the Fed was talking about not cutting interest rates, but you still think no rate cuts. They're not going to do it. They're not going to cut rates, right?
No, one of the reasons is that, as I explained, everything goes up in waves. And we had the first wave up in inflation, and now we got some second wave down. And we're in a couple of weeks or months, really, at all my website, I don't remember exactly, we get a new wave up in inflation. Now, what scares me about the Fed is that it always says we will look from months to months what the data say. I would actually go and say, you don't want to look at my cycles? Obviously not. But it's scary that they look from months to months what the situation is, though have no really forecast, because they cannot tell you if the inflation by the end of the year is higher or lower than it is right now. So I still surprised that there's not much knowledge even with the Fed.
You think inflation will be higher now than at the end of the year? Excuse me, it'll be higher at the end of the year than now. Do you think inflation will be higher at the end of the year than right now?
Yeah, for instance, also food prices, we're still short on the corn and wheat and soya beans because the long-term cycles are down by the bottom like late March. And the crude cycle is close to a bottom, and natural gas hit our downside price target of 168. So we're getting ready for more inflation.
Last question, and I want you to talk about this because people just can't grasp it, but and this is how you know we're not really hitting the big war cycle. And you said, and I got it, 2 billion would die in the next war cycle, which thank goodness is going to be this year. But would you just explain that number, 2 billion would die in the next war cycle? This is going to be a monster war. This is going to be like World War. Go ahead.
So I explain it again. Let's say we go in a bull market and the cycle says, I just give an example, it starts the third week of April. Now, the system I built, and I built it already 40 years ago when there was no artificial intelligence, people didn't know what I was doing, says then when the cycle low is in gold. And if you look at the track record, we make like in every asset 100% a year for years, so it really works very well. Then we know when this gold goes up, but not only the gold goes up, as an example, at random, you can also calculate how high it goes. So now if you put, instead of the dates of the gold market, you put the dates of wars, and then instead of the price of gold, you put the casualties, then you can calculate how many casualties are going to be once we really get going in the war cycle, and that is a huge number.
2 billion.
Yeah.
You think it could be 2 billion souls lost within this cycle?
That's what it looks like.
No way they can do it without nuclear war, right? You think we'll have nuclear war?
No, it must be. Otherwise, you don't get to these numbers. So it's not a happy thing to think about. But like we said, you can have a winter coat and do whatever is good for you.
Charles
No,
Denner.
the problem is years ago we decided that apart from the war cycles, the internal struggles of the United States are going to be huge. And as you see what happens in universities and the legal system, I don't even know how great it is to be United States, because I said this again as a foreigner. I don't have a diplomatic view on that, but if they pick up a lot of people who are on a terrorist list in the southern border, I can imagine that they only pick up 5 or 10%. So if I would be those countries like China, Iran, whatever, I would just, and I think they're slowly sending in the people and they're just waiting, for the order to wake up. And we're going to be in for a huge surprise over here.
Wow. You think terrorism will be huge in the USA in the next few years? Is that your prediction?
Well, let's say you think Iran says USA is the big Satan. Wouldn't you take advantage of the fact that you can send your people already into the United States?
Yeah. So your cycles are saying big terrorism in the USA.
Yeah, because we said, but you see what happened at university. We talked, maybe you remember, we talked that one of the huge problems is the internal struggle in the United States, the social unrest. So that's breaking down the whole society.
Okay. Wow. Well, I covered everything. All my questions were answered with you. You do have a deal on the Charles Denner Research Center at your website, charlesdenner.com. Is that right?
Yes. If you can get there, you don't have to give a credit card for 30 days. You can get on there. Look at our track record, 100% on all the assets every year. Doesn't matter if it goes up or down. You don't have to wait for that one chance. You can play, you can play the markets. We give you the exact date and exact level, and just see how we do it, because then you know how the big players are doing it. They don't listen to the news. They don't, they just do the calculations, and they do very well.
Well, there's a lot of big. I'm sure Goldman Sachs is still a client of yours, along with all the other guys, because you knock all the hard work out of the cycles, and then they can look like they're smart and be rich. But the long and short of it is, you get a free month, no credit card. Sign up for it, put an email down, and you'll be able to get access to your charlesdenner.com. Correct?
Yeah, but also 4 times a day you get the update. We send it out by email on all the markets that we follow with the exact buy and sell signals, the exact dates. Just have an idea what's possible in investing.
All right, Charles Nenner, thanks for coming on and for this really important update. Thanks for coming on, Charles Nenner. We really appreciate you. CharlesDenner.com. We'll put the links in after the site for the website. There's some free information on there as well. And also you can become a client, a member for free for a month. Charles Nenner, thanks for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com.
You're welcome.